Oh man, the Honda Recon 250. I really do regret selling this ATV. You see, I bought the Honda Recon 250 to use it as a rental, but I used it a lot myself as well. But a lot of my customers were having issues with the ATV. They had a hard time grasping the concept of gear changing. For example, say there is this hill climb, they will leave it on third gear and they'll try crawling up the hill without shifting it back down. Other issues too, like say the Recon will get stuck in gear, right? They will come back, they will leave it on fourth gear, they'll come to a complete stop, and it will stay on fourth gear, and they couldn't figure out how to downshift the machine. They will say, hey, it's not shifting. So it became a little bit of a hassle for me. I would have to constantly go out there and recover it and so forth and so forth. So this was honestly the main reason why I sold the Honda Recon 250. There was nothing wrong with the ATV, but it just became a little bit problematic with someone who was a little bit inexperienced, which is not a big deal, you know, we all learn here and there. But ever since that day though, I have huge regrets. And of course, I have way more comfortable ATVs and dirt bikes and such. The Honda Recon was just a different animal. Literally, it is like the lightest feeling ATV in today's market that is considered quote-unquote for adults in the utility class. And sure, it's a 250, but the power is not like an entry-level 250. It's very torquey and super fun. Woo-hoo-hoo. This little thing rips. So much fun. Man, this thing is really zippy though. Guy right here. We all know a Polaris or a Yamaha rides way better than a Honda Recon 250 with its independent suspensions. It flexes better on rocky terrain, and of course it's a secret weapon when you're solo exploring, and that's the thing with the Honda Recon 250 besides its fun factor. It stood up to some crazy abuse. I had a guy hit a rock hauling this ATV, flipped the Recon, and I'm not sure how, but the racks did not even bend. Not even the tie rods, nothing wrong with the axles, nothing like that. Normally, this kind of impact, the tie rods will bend, and I have to go out there with my truck and recover it. There'll be either a cracked plastic or a bent rack. And I think because the Honda Recon 250, maybe because it was so lightweight, and in all honesty, the thing did not even look like it was rolled. I was scratching my head like, wow. Another time, I've never ridden an ATV. He smacked the tree really hard, but the main thing is he was okay, no injuries. Went to the quad, checked the quad, and nothing. Scratching my head like, man, this Honda is really something else. It's been crashed so many times, and yet barely nothing happens to this ATV. So aside from it being bulletproof, from what I've seen it go through, there is something else about this Honda 250. Of course, we all know the fun factor. It is a super fun quad. It is the most fun quad out there, hands down, with the exception, of course, of sports quads. Woo! It did it! I don't know if it'll make this, but we got some serious deep snow on this. Since I think manually shifting ATVs are a lot more fun, but besides that, this Honda Recon 250, it's a secret weapon if you're solo exploring. I mean, I've been in some really gnarly terrain with this Recon where I don't think I would have gone down with the full-size quad with its crazy downhill ruts. It's so low to the ground, so lightweight that I can really manhandle this ATV. I can stick my leg out in confidence and stuff like that just to kind of balance the ATV and push against the washout or the terrain just to make sure it doesn't roll or anything like that. And if it gets too crazy, I can literally get off the quad and manipulate it that way. I can lock the rear brakes and kind of drag it down. But it's not all about how easy it is to manipulate. But out of all the quads I've owned, this thing is super easy to lift and turn around. Now, why is that so important as a solo rider and explorer? Well, I'll give you the perfect example. When I'm solo riding or solo exploring, I don't really do any kind of hard trails. I stick to the easy stuff. I've been stranded before and I've got caught in a nasty bind with my buddies where if I was by myself, I would have no idea what to do. But once in a while, curiosity does get to you. Although I'm sticking to very easy trails, before you know it, I'm in a super narrow 50-inch carved trail with a huge rock face. For sure, I can do it on my dirt bike or maybe a 4x4 independent rear suspension quad. But do I want to try this solo with no cell phone reception, a cliff right next to you? Probably not. And this is what happened this day. I went off into a 50-inch trail, didn't really think much of it. It was a easy, flat, mild grade. You know, normally you can tell by the terrain when you first enter the system. Until all of a sudden, I was super downhill, steep downhill, U-shaped, carved 50-inch trail with a huge washed out rock slab about 6 feet tall. An idea of this slab, I couldn't even walk on it. You needed momentum to get up with some kind of machine. I wouldn't even attempt it on a 4x4 Polaris Solo. To make it worse, there was a huge 20-foot drop on the left side of it, depending how you're tackling this obstacle. With the Honda Recon 250, I was able to shift it little by little on this U-shaped carved 50-inch trail, just deep down into this steep trail right at the entrance of that rock's face. And you know, I was able to shift it little by little and turn it around on this trail. It took me about 15 minutes to do so, but if I was on a full-size quad, somehow I would have to commit to that rock face. I wouldn't have known what to do. I probably could have done it on a 4x4 quad, but being by yourself is a whole different story with no cell phone reception and being about 30 miles out from parking. I don't know if you guys ever hike 30 miles, especially in steep terrain. It's not fun. Now, I know what you are all thinking. Why don't you just reverse back? Well, I couldn't reverse neither. Weird situation. And just how the situation was, the trail was very washed out and grooved. Reversing would have been incredibly tricky because of the shape of the cut, some exposure, and the narrowness, along with how steep it was. I tried reversing, of course, with the Honda Recon 250, but I was unable to either. It became just too technical, or the tires would just slip. It was something that you needed non-stop momentum to get up. But it was just too many obstacles along the way, too many washouts. The exposure was right there, and it was U-shaped. It was really tight, like tire to tire. It is really a trail you have to see in person to fully understand where reversing back to the top would almost be suicide. But this is what I mean with the Recon 250. It might have saved my life that day, or much more of a headache trying to reverse back up, say if that was your only scenario. If you are a solo rider, I honestly would recommend a Honda Recon 250. It really is a secret weapon, and God forbid you roll it, it's super easy to flip on its side. But out of all the quads, for some reason the Honda Recon 250, everything that I've seen it go through, this thing is indestructible. But the fun factor, it's so much fun. It's like a dirt bike on an ATV kind of fun. I don't know how to explain it. I've ridden sports quads too, but the Honda Recon 250 was just, it was different. It was so much more fun, and you can really get into some really serious terrain with confidence. Anyhow, guys, let me know what you guys think. Do you think a solo rider should have a Honda Recon 250 versus a full-size quad?